to work closely with Johnson & Johnson 2 years ago, and being able to compare their legislative efforts to other lobbying teams that I worked with as an attorney representing governmental entities over many years. This firm is literally the best in Austin, and a lot of folks don't realize is that when we talk about defensive, there are typically over 1,000 bills filed in a given legislative session that we have to pour through within the city and get with Johnson & Johnson on, and they are running all over the place trying to cover the city and protect the city's interest. And in addition to being the best, I will tell you that they're also the cheapest. So I can certainly attest, based on firsthand experience with them 2 years ago and having watched them and worked with them, that the city clearly gets value for its money. And as far as the subs are concerned, they are very proactive in minority participation. I saw that firsthand, and they do a great job for the city.
Let's go back to the question that Councilman Pennant raised. Why engage now, even though we don't have the principles now? And the mayor saying next week the council will get the principles, but why engage now? And some basis for the $750,000.
Well, the $750,000 is based on historical experience over a period of time in terms of what's typically billed. It is so hard to predict from session to session just how much activity would take place. I can tell you that they have to be very quick on their feet. They have to be responsive, and frankly, there's a lot of time that they spend that they don't bill for. And I think there was another.
Yes, and I think it's fair to say too that there are activities going on in Austin already that we need somebody to start screening through. I'm trying to get on the table. Why not wait until later?
Well, first of all, bills are filed starting in November, and there are already bills being circulated around, as well as committees meeting. So we're actually having to call upon Johnson & Johnson now. If we wait, then it can be too late.
Thank you, I appreciate it. The mayor, the only concern I have is that you answered my concerns that when they do know what the priorities are going to be, take those from us, and subsequently bring on board the subcontractors that I just want to hammer this in again, to the extent that we have local talent that have the networking process in place, utilize local talent on the sub side to the extent that we believe they are connected to help us get the job. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Noted, Councilor. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just not to belabor the point, but we get busy around this table and we forget we're in meetings in different committees. But actually, there was a meeting October 5th, 2010, in Councilmember Clutterbuck's Budget and Fiscal Affairs, where Mr. Hall did lay out the principles and this contract. So I think we have kind of strayed from that type of process. So again, it was discussed at a Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee, and I think maybe that's what we're asking for, just a little bit more dialogue and to be part of it. And we almost feel excluded, and especially if you don't get information. I wish I would have had something in writing that said we're looking at November and who's going to be the chair. Never got that opportunity, and that's what I'm having a hard time. So,
I'm sorry, Councilor. I was told that you were informed multiple times, but I will make sure that it is in writing next time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Councilor Pennington.
Just to speak in terms of information that I'd like to see, I mean, and what brought to mind is your statement, we have a very narrow agenda. Let's presume that very narrow means 3 to 5 bills. We could have received an assessment of how much time would be spent on each one of those, and we could have done that, I think, based partially on an assessment by the lobbying firm of how much time they spent on the different bills last time. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the timesheets, I think they probably do based on a monthly retainer of some kind. But if we could have some estimate of, so we could evaluate what we received last time. I know Mr. Feldman is very high on the firm, and I'm probably going to vote for this based on what he had to say, but I think that we could certainly get more information on the work allocated to our matters. I mean, it's one thing to pay $750,000 if you got 15 matters, but should we pay $750,000 if we only have a limited agenda of 3 to 5 matters? That's the kind of information we're looking for.
Councilmember, the agenda is not going to be much different this legislative session than it was last legislative session. We have certain things that the city needs to pass, and we have the responsibility to make sure that we review every bill that seems to be moving to make sure that it doesn't have a negative impact on the city of Houston. The legislative principles, if council members wish to have a special committee meeting, if you would like a mayor's report to discuss legislative principles, I'm happy to arrange that. This particular contract is above and apart from that. Whatever our legislative package is, Johnson & Johnson would be tasked with making sure that it moves. And if something happens in this legislative session that again targets unfunded mandates at cities, and suddenly their workload goes up, the value of their contract does not. We are hiring them just as we would hire an attorney to defend us in a process without exactly knowing what the full extended scope of their responsibilities are.
Well, you can have a category for that too. I mean, every contract has contingencies in it. I mean, that's the kind of information that we could have. So, and I think also with regard to hiring them now, I think they're still under contract based on to the beginning of the session from last time, so they're still being paid.
Yes, sir, we're still using, again, the same contract from previous, but the legislature doesn't just meet during the session and stop. There are activities, there are...
Well, I know, but they're still being paid. They have a 2-year contract that we signed 2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
That hadn't quite expired, so they're under
Yes.
contract to us, I think, until
Yes, sir.
January, based on the 750 we paid.
Actually, I think it goes to November. It starts in November, because that's when the bill starts.
I'm not so interested in the specific issues. I mean, I'll look to you to provide these issues, but I'm interested in information on how much time the lobbyists are spending on our issues. They don't even have to identify them. They can say, issue one, we worked on 10 issues, and you know, they allocate how their fees go. That's all, just
I think we can certainly provide that from the last legislative session. Obviously, we can't predict what will happen in this legislative session.
Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Moving to a vote on the item, favor, opposed?
No.
Item carries. Councilmember Sullivan voting no. Councilmember Rodriguez voting no.